Hello. I am finally back with another informational video. And I know it's been a super long time since I uploaded a video like this. It's mostly because, I was wrapping up my last school term. I was moving to Waterloo and then I moved back to Toronto. And then now I'm in Toronto in my new apartment. But regardless, I am back now. So today's video is going to be about how to maximize your chances of getting a software engineering job in this dog shit market that we find ourselves in. This video is going to be more focused on entry-level jobs like internships and new grads because I personally just finished up the process a few months ago. So the video is going to be divided into three parts. Number one, the application process. Number two, the interview process. And number three, my own journey on how I personally navigated the job market in a full-on tech recession and how I kept myself motivated and had the right mindset going into the process. So let's jump right into it. All right, so part one, the application process. So for this part, the most important thing is to build a stacked resume, meaning that you need to craft your resume impeccably and make sure to highlight impact in every single one of your resume bullet points. I do have a whole video on how I personally crafted my resume that helped me get a few interviews. So if you guys want to check that out, that's I think the first video on the channel. So you guys can go ahead and take a look at that. But the few most important things about a resume are that number one, it needs to look full. Like it needs to have relevant experience. Now, I know some of you guys may not have had past relevant experiences, but what you can do is make your old experiences sound like software engineering as much as possible. Because that's personally what I did, because I was a data analyst before I got into software. And what I did when I was remaking my resume for software engineering was that for every single resume bullet point that I had when I was working my first internship as a data analyst, is that I took each of the bullet points and then I made sure to turn them into something that could have at least somewhat a resemblance of a software engineering background. For example, let's say that I wrote a lot of Excel scripts in VBA. What I would say is that I coded scripts to parse 1,000+ lines of data to extract actionable insights into blah, 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 blah. Basically stuff like that. So you want to make sure that in the past, that if it's anything even remotely technical, you can turn it into something that looks good as a software engineering bullet point. So once you have your resume ready, what you need to do, and obviously everyone knows this already, is to just apply to every single job that you see. So I used to scour online job boards for like hours on end and just apply to every single thing I saw. And it didn't even matter if like they were asking for 2 years of experience in like a framework or something, because I still applied. So what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter what they're asking, as long as it's somewhat matching your experience, you should apply to it anyways. So the number one thing that you can do in order to get a callback for the interview is to apply with a referral. So for example, like if you know someone at the company, if one of your friends or like someone from your university works at the company, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, would you mind referring me to this position? What I personally did was I just went on Blind and asked for referrals. So if you guys don't know what Blind is, it's like an app for like all the tech people where they come together and they discuss. It's kind of like Reddit, but for purely for tech. Like they discuss the layoffs, their TCs, all of that stuff. But I don't really look at all that. I just look for referrals. So what I did was I just posted, like whichever company that I saw was hiring, I posted, hey, I went on Blind and I made a post and I was like, hey, could I please get referrals to this? I have this much experience, this, and these are my background. And then a lot of people actually commented and gave me referrals. And applying with a referral, I believe at least that like it increases your chances of success by like a reasonable amount, and it definitely won't hurt your chances. So some places that I look for jobs were LinkedIn. I think like I just searched like software engineering internships or new grad opportunities on LinkedIn, and Glassdoor, Indeed, and most importantly actually AngelList. And AngelList had a lot of startups that were hiring for entry-level positions. So if you look there, I'm sure you guys can find like some companies that are willing to hire like new grads or interns. So you got lucky and you got an interview. How on earth do you pass the interview? And that is a really good question. So today I'm gonna, try to break down all the things that I've learned and try to impart some actionable insights to you guys on how to prepare strategically for an interview. So kind of like I said in like my last video, the most important things that you will need to focus on for your technical interview are number one, algorithm and data structures question. That is the most important, I think. And number two, system design. Number three, class design. And number four, some basic CS trivia questions. So I actually went over this in my last video in like a lot of depth, but I'll go over it again here just to make sure everyone understands. So for algorithm and data structure questions, one of the best ways to prepare is lead code. Obviously, as everyone knows. For system design interviews, the number one resource that I have found, and I will tell you this unequivocally, is Alex Sue's system design books. So system design volume 1 and system design volume 2. And from personal experience, every single system design question that I've ever been asked in an interview was an exact replica of a question in this book, or just a slightly different variation of it. So if you read these books, I promise you, you will be set for system design interviews and you will ace them. So in my opinion, you should never walk into an interview for a specific company not knowing what type of questions they ask. Because if you do enough research on the company and the types of interviews that they like to hold, you will find clues as to what type of questions you should study ahead of time. For example, I know that Google loves dynamic programming questions. So when you go in, you can expect a dynamic programming question or a graph question, right? But Facebook, they never ask dynamic programming questions. And especially for these big companies, there is so much information out there. There's so many people who have taken their interview and have documented their experience online for you to learn from. So please research those interview experiences. Please go ahead and learn what type of questions specific companies like to ask. So something I personally did was that I went to Discord. I went on Reddit. I went on Blind. I went on Glassdoor. I went to every single forum that people could have documented their interview experience on, and I just DM'd every single person on that thread. Around 5 to 6 people actually DM'd me back, and they were nice enough to tell me about their interview experience. Anyways, what researching companies and messaging people about their interview experiences does is that it helps you build a knowledge base of what type of questions the company asks. And this helps you streamline your process for studying the interview and helps you allocate your time effectively to make sure that you're studying the stuff that is going to be on the test. And another really important thing that people forget or people look over when they're studying for technical interviews is that they don't really understand what the algorithm or the data structure is behind the question that they're solving. All they do is they just memorize it. They're like, oh, this one's DFS, I'm gonna just memorize DFS. Obviously, memorizing is good sometimes, but what you need to do is really just sit down and understand why the solution is what it is to the question that you're solving. Why in this case did a DFS help? Or why in this case did a try help? And when you really start to understand the algorithms at play behind these questions, an amazing thing will happen. Your brain will start creating connections to different sort of problems, right? Once you stop memorizing and actually start to problem solve and understand, what's going to happen is when you encounter another similar question, your brain is going to be like, we have seen a similar question before. And in that question, we use a DFS, right? But in this case, we can just use a BFS instead. So I'm hoping the last 2 parts were a little bit helpful, that you guys took away at least a little bit of value from it. And now I'm going to talk about part 3, which is my own personal journey and a little bit of background about myself for the people who are watching this video and who haven't watched like the previous videos is that I am an international student in Canada. That means that I cannot apply to the jobs in the United States. The reason being that most companies don't want to sponsor the H-1B visa required for me to work in the States. And number 2, even if the company wants to sponsor me, it's not a guarantee. I would have to go through like a lottery system to get the visa, and then there would be, I think, like a 33% or like a 30% chance of me actually getting the visa. And for those who don't know, I interned at Spotify in fall 2021, and a lot of people are probably wondering, why didn't I just return? Well, sadly, no return offers were given out to the batch of the interns that were there with me because of the hiring freezes. And to make matters worse, I was in the interview processes for like Rippling and a few other companies, and they all reached back out and they were like, whoop, sorry, we're not gonna continue on with the process because we're freezing hiring. And as most people would, I became big sad. And seeing all my really smart friends, like all these math Olympiads and all these people who have interned at Google, Facebook, you name it, they got it. Fucking HFTs, like Citadel, Jane Street, all these kids, now they're all jobless too. So now they're in the job market with me. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, how am I gonna compete with these genetically gifted people? So I was like, yo, it's over. I'm gonna get deported from Canada. And I was packing up my shit, ready to get the fuck out. Like, I had suitcases zipped up and everything. But once again, anime came to motivate me. I cannot make this up, right? Since I had absolutely nothing to do except for apply to jobs, go to the gym, study for interviews, I was like, you know what? Let's just start a new anime. Why not? And I started an anime called My Hero Academia based on a good friend's recommendation. And this shit is fire. Like, everyone should watch the anime. Like, I'm telling you, it's some next level shit. And after watching My Hero Academia, I was like, yo, you know, in life, they say that opportunity knocks on the door. That's absolutely not true in my experience. Opportunity always comes up and sneaks up behind you. And you just gotta be ready to perform that, right? You know what they say, right? Like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I genuinely believe the universe will give everyone a chance to prove themselves, at least once. And just like Deku, you have to be ready to prove yourself. You have to have all your knowledge, all your skill sets right in the top of your mind to perform in the interview when you eventually do get one. And I can tell you right now, the smartest person will not always win this game. Or the smartest person will not always make it in life. Or whatever like your definition of making it is, but the smartest person will not always get what they want. It's the person who shows up day in and day out. It's the person who works on their craft no matter how shit things are going. And that's when true bravery is shown, right? True bravery is shown when there's no hope, when you don't feel like it, when everything is going wrong, but you get up and you're like, you know what, one more time, one more, just one more. Let me try one more time. So, what's it gonna be? You're gonna sit here and are you gonna be average? Or are you gonna have the courage to try to be great? The courage to fail? The courage to be something more than anyone else thinks that you can be? The choice will today and forever be only yours. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And most importantly, thank you to all my 4,237 subscribers. The last video I made, I was at 133 subscribers. So thank you so much for everyone who watched and subscribed. It really means a lot. In my mind, you know, if I even get to change one life, or if I even get to push you to apply to one more job, or push you to do one more question, or push you to do one more set at the gym, you know, or push you to wake up and really go for it, even for one day, that's the best outcome that I can hope to achieve from the things that I do, is to have a positive impact on other people's lives. And yeah, thank you again so much for watching. And yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, comment, whatever, and I'll do my best to reply to everybody. Thank you.